You're listening to the Sports Brothers podcast by Sam and Brian Dostal. Everything sports, all the time.
Welcome to the Sports Brothers podcast. I am Brian Dostler, and Sam Dostler will be also on the show today. As always, as we will be talking about some sports as usual. Today is Friday, May 30th, and it is 9:45 a.m. And Sam, we're going to be hitting the golf course in a few hours.
Yeah, we are. Nice day today, at least for the beginning. Some thunderstorms maybe, but hopefully that putting stroke comes with me. It's been a struggle this year on the greens.
It'll be my third time
I know
going
it'll
out
be
this
a win
year.
over you no matter what, whether I can putt or not. But
All right. Some friendly competition. We'll be golfing with Mike Cosentini at Blue Fox in Avon. We're going to pick him up in about an hour and 15 minutes from now, so we're looking forward to that. But first, here on the show, before we even get started, actually, we want to thank for those of you that have checked out our websites. We can see who has viewed the website and who hasn't, and got 90 views.
worldwide, baby.
Worldwide, that's right. We did see that we have a viewer in India. That's, kind of cheating in a sense.
Well, we assume it's our cousin Ned who's over in India, but if it is, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ned.
Keep up the worldwide aspect of the Sports Brothers.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll go to England or the UK, and we'll get another one there.
Yep.
So, all right, so on today's show, we will be doing a little different things. We got two new segments called the Stump Bro and Smart and Not Smart. We'll explain those.
Stump Bro.
Stump the Bro, excuse me, thank you. We'll talk about that when those arrive. We'll be talking about some golf, baseball, and playoff basketball. And Sam, let's first talk about the Western Conference Finals. Last night, the San Antonio Spurs defeated the Oklahoma City Thunder 117-89 to take a 3-2 lead. And so far, it's been every home team has been the winner.
Yeah, we have it written down here. Better than 20 points per game has been the home court advantage. Skewed more to the Spurs side. They've been winning by almost 27 points per game at home. 17 points in Game 1, 35 points in Game 2, and then 28 points last night, while the Thunder winning by an average of 11 points, although both of those games were closer than they did appear after the final score. And last night, the Spurs went back to doing what they did in those first two games, moving the basketball, sharing the basketball, everybody getting touches.
6 players were double figures last night for the Spurs. Tim Duncan, 22 points, 12 rebounds. Kawhi Leonard, 14 points, 7 rebounds. Tony Parker, he struggled in Game 4, but had a nice Game 5 with 12 points and 4 assists. Manu Ginobili, 19 points in only 20 minutes off the bench. Here is what Manu said after the game, saying the Spurs are playing with a lot of determination.
I'm pretty sure it's not about X's and O's. It's about how hard we play, how stronger we drove, how smarter we play. Sometimes, X's and O's are not that important when the difference is the toughness or aggressiveness.
That was Manu Ginobili talking about the Spurs, Sam, that, it's not about the X's and O's. It's about who plays harder and who wants to win more during these playoffs.
Yeah, it certainly does come down to that so much because these teams, they're just so closely matched, and you can see how just such a small thing can sway a game. I mean, you look at Serge Ibaka. He wasn't there, and you were thinking, he's not that big of a difference. He's a difference, but not that big of a difference. And he comes back, and all of a sudden the Thunder pick themselves up off the mat and win the 2 games in Oklahoma City. I fully expect them to win Game 6 the way this series has gone. But you talk about Manu talking about the determination they're playing with. We've talked about it. Everybody in the sports media has talked about it. The Spurs thought they were the better team in that series last year against the Heat, the championship series. They probably were. They were a miraculous Ray Allen three-pointer away from being the NBA champions, and that's been their sole focus all season long. Their driving force throughout the season. Now they're 1 game away from getting back to the finals and most likely taking on the Heat again.
Kevin Durant, he led all scorers with 25 points and 11-21 shooting. Russell Westbrook finished with 21 points and added 7 assists. And we mentioned Serge Ibaka, he struggled. Only 6 points, 3 for 10 from the field, and only 2 rebounds. And Sam, like you mentioned before, we were saying, especially because our our podcast, I believe our second podcast was after the 35-point blowout. It was like, Serge Ibaka, he's not gonna, be a 35-point swing. But hey, it seems like he has been.
At least in the games in Oklahoma City, he has been. Not so much last night. I guess you could say he was an improvement. In a sense, they lost by 35 points in Game 2, and here in Game 5 they only lost by 28 points. But no, yeah, Ibaka's been a difference maker, and they say a series hasn't started until a team wins on the road, and neither team has won on the road yet. The Spurs now have a chance to win on the road and close out the series, something Miami couldn't do over in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Which we will talk about in a few minutes. But first, the Spurs, they shot 71% in the paint. That's their best this postseason after shooting their worst at 45% in Game 4. And here's Russell Westbrook last night saying simply the Spurs could not miss.
I mean, they did a good job, like Kevin said, just spreading us out, hitting some open threes. And they shot 51%. So, they kind of made all their shots.
The last note here on the Spurs, Oklahoma City, is that Tim Duncan, had his 98th playoff game with at least 20 points and 10 rebounds. The next closest active player is Dirk Nowitzki at 64.
It's just phenomenal what Tim Duncan does, isn't it? I mean, this is a guy who averaged better than 15 points per game during the regular season, nearly 10 rebounds per game, and he only played he played less than 30 minutes a game. I mean, if this guy had played 35, 36 minutes during the regular season, he would have been up there, 19 and 11, something like that. So it's just phenomenal and unbelievable how consistent this guy has been throughout his career.
Speaking of Tim Duncan, here is what he has to say to reporters following the Game 5 win.
We cut down a lot of fast break points. They didn't have the easy things that they did in the last two games. And then we start hitting some shots, and the pressure kind of starts turning up a little bit. And so all that put together, just we continued to grind and found a way to kind of make them break.
Now we're looking forward to Game 6, and that's going to be Saturday, May 31st. That's going to be tomorrow, 8:30 on TNT. Who do you have in this one?
I mean, how can you not go with the home team, right? I mean, we've talked about it. The home team's won by better than 20 points per game, and both teams have just played so well at home. It seems like this game is destined for a Game 7, which would be next Monday.
I would agree with the Oklahoma City pick, and I'm just hoping for a close game. I mean,
yeah.
we're all hoping for a close
right?
game.
There's only been one single-digit game, that Game 3 when the Thunder won by 9 points, and that one
that felt more than a.
The Spurs were playing from behind throughout.
Now to the Eastern Conference Finals on Wednesday night. A few nights ago, the Indiana Pacers defeated the Miami Heat 93-90 to stay alive in the playoffs. The series is now 3-2 in favor of the Heat still, as Game 6 will be tonight, 8:30 on ESPN. Paul George, he scored a game-high 37 points, including 21 in the fourth quarter on 15-28 shooting and 5-14 from 3. David West, he had 19 points and 9 rebounds. He's been solid all postseason long. Lance Stevenson finished with 12 points and 5 assists. Roy Hibbert had 10 points and 13 rebounds. But Paul George was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, third 30-point game of the postseason for Paul George. And in that fourth quarter, really, I guess it really started with that buzzer beater he hit at the end of the third quarter, where he made that tough catch, tough turnaround three-pointer with under 2 seconds to go to push Indiana's lead to 64-57
There we go.
after 3 quarters. I got to learn how to talk, apparently. But, yeah, that got him going. And in the fourth, he was just hitting extremely tough shots, hand in his face, and fadeaway jumpers. He was just on point. He also had 6 steals, got out in transition, scored some easy buckets, and played a very good all-around game. And that's what Indiana's going to need from him. They're going to need that same sort of effort tonight in game number 6 if they want a chance to win the game in Miami and force this thing back to a Game 7 in Indianapolis.
Here is Paul George saying he was simply just feeling it, especially in the second half.
I felt in the rhythm, regardless of who was guarding me. I think I've seen every defender from the Heat tonight. I was just in the zone.
Another key stat to look at, obviously George with 37 points, but the Pacers, they turned the ball over 11 times in the first half and only 1 time in the second half. When you're not turning the ball over, Sam, that certainly helps your cause.
It certainly does, and they had quite the problem with turnovers in game number 4, and they did a really good job cutting them down last game. And again, that's what they're going to need to do. You don't turn the ball over. You don't give the team extra possessions, and you have a much better chance of winning. And I just want to mention Roy Hibbert, 10 points, 13 rebounds. Amazing the difference he makes for this Pacers team. When he has a game like that, they're usually in the game. People say, well, you don't know what Pacers team is going to show up, but it's coming down to what Roy Hibbert is going to show up. If that Roy Hibbert shows up, 10 points, 13 rebounds, then you're going to have a pretty good chance to win. If the no points and 2 rebounds Roy Hibbert shows up, it's going to be very difficult.
Chris Bosh, he had 20 points and 10 rebounds for Miami. Ray Allen scored 15 points. Rashard Lewis, he had 18 points.
He's been playing really well in this series.
He had 18 points on 6 of 9 shooting from 3, and he only had 21 points for the entire postseason coming into the game. And as we all know, LeBron James, he struggled. He had career lows of 7 points in 24 minutes due to foul trouble. He had 5 fouls in the third quarter, which was the first time in his career, I believe. And he was 2 of 10 shooting from the field. Here are what his thoughts were on Game 5.
I'm just trying to win. We need one more game to get to the finals. That's my only concern. You know, we put ourselves in a position to win tonight, you know, and as competitors, as professionals, you know, that's who we are.
And saying right there, LeBron was just saying, you know, he was just kind of shrugging off, you know, the reports asking about his poor performance.
It
and
happens.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just saying that they need to focus on closing out the series at home tonight.
And you know, I think LeBron, I know there's been a lot of discussion about this, but I think LeBron should have been the guy to take that shot down the stretch. I know it was a good pass, a good find to Chris Bosh, but it was a contested 3, and James got to the rim, and looking at the replay, in real time I thought LeBron should have shot it, and then looking at the replay, the way Hibbert was attacking that shot, he wasn't going to be going straight up. It would have been a foul on Hibbert, and LeBron certainly would have been headed to the foul line to shoot 2 free throws, if not try to complete a 3-point play, because we all know how strong LeBron James is. And if anybody's going to power a ball through
It's going to be
Roy
LeBron
Hibbert,
James.
it's going to be LeBron. I don't know what you thought, but I certainly feel like LeBron, being where he was on the court, should have gone up with that.
I agree. At the time it was the Heat were trailing by 2. So, you know, LeBron was trying to, you know, he's being selfish player and trying to kick it out to Bosh. You know, it was a tough 3 by Bosh. It's by no means was it an open shot either. You know, again, like you mentioned, Sam, him going up against Roy Hibbert, he's one of the few guys that could finish against him. You know, draw the foul, you know, but
it was a good pass.
yeah, no, it was.
And Bosh, they love to go
Yeah,
to Bosh
they do.
in that
They do.
corner late
They
in the
do.
game. He just floats out there, and but I mean, you can certainly see LeBron just going for the, you know, they have a chance to just end the series right there if Bosh knocks it down, or a very good chance. I think the Pacers would have had a couple seconds left if Bosh had knocked that down. And there's also the fact that LeBron hadn't been in the flow of the game. We talked about the foul trouble he was in, just playing the 24 minutes, the 7 points, 2 of 10 from the field. A couple minutes before, he took an awful shot trying to draw the foul on Lance Stevenson off at the top of the key, forced a 3-pointer. Stevenson, a great job defensively there to not knock down that 3. Maybe the blow in the ear got in his head a little bit. Not really, just kidding.
So now I'm going to ask you, Sam, how many points? What's going to be LeBron's stat line tonight?
I mean, it's going to be typical LeBron, you know, 25 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, a couple steals, you know, something like that. It's going to be – he's not going to get into foul trouble again. He's going to go out there and he's going to be LeBron James tonight.
I think he's going to score 37 points. He's going to grab 10 rebounds, and he's going to have 8 assists. I think he's going to have a monster game tonight.
Nearly a triple-double then?
Nearly a triple-double.
In a
I think
closeout?
Yes. I think
it'll be a closeout win tonight. I agree.
I think the Heat are going to win this game tonight. They do not want to go back to Indiana. On the Pacers side of things, you know, the Heat, they stole one on the road. Now they have to do the same. You know, we've mentioned, and everyone's been saying that the Pacers, they were playing for the 1 seed the entire season,
and now
because of Game 7.
Now's their chance to validate that.
Now is their chance. You have to win tonight so you can get back home and win the series at home. I mean, that's what you have. That's what they have to do at this point. The Pacers are now 3-0 in elimination games this postseason, but it's going to be tough. It is tough to win 3 straight against Miami. I mean, they haven't lost 2 straight in the playoffs since I don't think they have in the Big 3 era.
Against Dallas, they
Okay,
did.
against Dallas because they
But
lost. But
That's,
since then,
since then they have not lost 3 straight.
Okay, so now we're gonna go on to a new segment of the show, and you are listening to the Sports Brothers podcast, and you can listen to us on our Twitter page or off our website, thesportsbrothersblog.wordpress.com, and it is 10:04 a.m. Eastern Time. It is May 30th, Friday, May 30th, and we have a new segment called Stump the Bro, and this segment is when Sam and I will be asking each other a trivia question about anything and then everything about sports, and we're gonna kind of keep a tally of who gets the most correct. It's just gonna be one question for each show, and it's gonna be kind of a multiple choice. You have your question ready?
I have my question
okay,
ready.
so go for it.
All right. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but
Okay.
Edwin Encarnacion, you got me messed up with that. You keep saying his name wrong, and now I'm saying it
Oh,
wrong too.
I apologize.
Anyways, he hit 2 more home runs last night for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's up to 16 for the month of May. Which Major League Baseball player has the most home runs in a single month? Is it Barry Bonds, Roger Maris, or Sammy Sosa?
Well, I know that answer because
I was hoping you didn't read this. It's a good question.
it is a good
It
question.
is a good trivia question. It was just a matter of if you read it or not in the last couple days.
If you remember correctly, it was on our last show I said it.
Oh.
He hit 20 home runs in the month of June in 1998. So Sammy Sosa.
Well, there you go.
Yes, I got the first question.
I couldn't remember where I had heard it. I wasn't sure if I saw it on the bottom line on Sports Center, read it in the newspaper. But
Clearly, here on the
apparently
Sports Brothers
the
podcast.
Sports Brothers giving good information all the time.
So here's my question.
Well, that was a buzzkill.
Here,
That was a layup,
yes. Yeah, that really was.
huh? I asked it great too. I had great flow. I didn't exaggerate. I said all the names the same. Ugh. Whatever. I'll get the win on the golf course.
Now my question, my Stump the Bro question is, who has the most walk-off home runs in Angels history? Garrett Anderson, Tim Salmon, or Vladimir Guerrero?
Well, Garrett Anderson was there a long time. I'm gonna go with Garrett Anderson.
You are wrong.
Am I?
Yes, Tim Salmon.
Tim
He had
Salmon,
6.
he was there a long
He had
time
6.
as well.
1-0 Brian.
Tim Salmon was
In the Stump the
definitely
Bro.
more of
Yes.
I knew it wasn't Vlad, so it was a 50-50, and I went with Mr. Angel, Garrett Anderson.
Because I was considering, that's when Mike was downstairs last night with Damien, and he was saying use Mo Vaughn as one of the.
Mo Vaughn would have been a clear.
And I did some info. He's only there for a couple
And
of
he
years.
stunk with them.
And it was the back end of his career, so I switched it to Garrett Anderson because I was like, okay, he's been there forever. He's an MVP 2005. He's been there forever.
Was Vlad second? Or you don't know second? Okay.
I just went to MLB.com trivia questions, and it just question answer. That's all it gave me. But 6 walk-off home runs for Tim Salmon in the Angels uniform. So
And now they got a Trout.
And now they have a Trout. We were talking about the other day. Okay, so there's our segment, our Stump the Bro. We'll do that every podcast, and I like this. You're frustrated. I'm all happy.
I'm gonna have to do better research than
it's
I
good.
did.
It's
I'm
good.
gonna have to do better research than I did there.
And I'm hoping maybe not for Monday, but maybe next Friday's podcast I'll have like a little music intro to these segments. Got a lot to.
You
do
got a
now.
lot of free time next week.
Yeah, I do. Okay. And so our next segment is Smart or Not Smart, and this will be a kind of a debate, I guess. I mean, I think we may agree on some of these, but smart or not smart in different situations in sports. So we're going to have 3 of those. In our first one, I'm going to ask you, Sam, smart or not smart for the media going crazy that Johnny Manziel, the Cleveland Browns rookie quarterback, was in Las Vegas over Memorial Day weekend with Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski?
It's not smart. I mean, it's one of those things where he's 21. He just got drafted, went through the whole draft process. He just had his first OTA or rookie training mini camp, whatever, and he needs a little bit of a breather. He needs some time off, needs to relax before he ramps it back up and gets going. I mean, the NFL is a long season. and everybody needs some time to relax. I mean, everybody goes to Vegas at
Yeah.
some point. I mean, how many college kids um, go to Vegas for their spring break or over the summer? How many businesses go and have conferences at Las Vegas? I mean, it's a destination spot. And Brown's coaching staff was talking about other players who were out down in Miami Beach or in South Florida. I don't know if specifically Miami Beach, but definitely South Florida. I mean, this is a couple days for the players to relax a little bit. I mean, give this guy a break. And also, I think a little bit of the reason it was made into the deal the big deal that it was what else is there to talk about football? They need to keep.
That's true. They need to keep talking
They
about
need to keep
the NFL.
football. For some reason, they need to keep football in the news 24/7, and this was a way to do it.
365 days. And I think another reason why they blew up a little bit is because it's Rob Gronkowski, who has, been known to be a partier as well. But again, I'm going to go with not smart. I mean, just let the kid live his life.
Yeah.
I mean, he, like you said, he just went through a full season at Texas A&M. He went through all the draft stuff, all the draft workouts and interviews and talking to people. He goes through the draft. He, goes through the first few weeks of practices with the Browns. I mean, it's May, folks. He doesn't have any obligations. I believe it was the owner that came out, the Browns owner or general manager, one of the two, and he said, it's not a big deal. We don't care if he's in Las Vegas. Let the kid go enjoy himself.
And he's not the. I'm sure he's not the first,
And he won't be
and
the
he
last.
won't be the last. And just let this kid breathe a little bit. I've never been a Johnny Manziel fan, as someone who, I don't know, whatever. I just didn't like him when I first saw him on the nothing personality wise. Just I saw him on the football field and was like, I'm not a big Johnny Manziel guy. But the more and more the media gets on him for stuff he does, the more and more I find myself supporting Johnny Manziel.
Our next question, smart or not smart, Sam, for the Minnesota Timberwolves to trade all-star power forward Kevin Love this offseason?
In the offseason, I think it's not smart.
Really?
Depends on what you get, of course. But in the offseason, I don't know if it's the smartest thing because you can make a run at the postseason with the team that you have. You had a pretty good team last year. You got Ricky Rubio. You got some nice pieces. So maybe you make see if you can make a little bit of a run. Pick up a piece in the draft, make a nice little run at the postseason. But if you're not, then during the season, you maybe look to make that trade. I think if they're not in contention for the postseason, they have to trade Kevin Love because otherwise they're not going to get anything for him. You got to get something for a guy like Kevin Love, and you can get a lot of something for a guy like Kevin Love. Such a good player. He can give you 20 and 10 on pretty much every night. I mean, he's
40 and 20 sometimes.
Yeah, 40. I mean, the guy's a monster down low. He can score inside, step outside, and shoot it. Can handle the basketball a little bit. He does a lot of things, and he'll certainly command a lot in the trade market.
I think it's smart for the Timberwolves to trade him in the offseason because I don't think, and he said that he's not going to re-sign with the club because he's not happy with the direction of the team. They haven't made the playoffs. He wants to be a playoff guy, and there are teams that I'm going to name a few. The Sacramento Kings. They've been reportedly interested in trading for Kevin Love, and they're okay with not signing him long term. Now, I'm not okay with that. I think if you're going to trade for a guy like Kevin Love, you want him long term. Ask the Lakers and Dwight Howard. With that, he was traded from the Magic to the Lakers, didn't sign long term, then he ended up in Houston the next season.
And you look at the Dwight Howard one makes a little bit more sense, but you look at Sacramento and Kevin Love would be going to the same exact situation pretty much. He would, without Kevin Love, Minnesota, they were 40 and 42 last year. Without him, they would have been a Sacramento type, a team that went 28 and 54, right? So if you switch spots and you put Kevin Love on Sacramento, they're probably going to be a 40 and 42 team, a 42 and 40 team, a team that's in the way the West is right now, a team that's going to be still 7 or 8 games out of the playoffs with that record. I mean, you just look at the 8th seed in this year's playoffs was Dallas, 49 and 33, and Minnesota, they were 40 and 42, still 6 games out of that final playoff spot, and that's where Sacramento, you would have to imagine, would be, even if they added a guy like Kevin Love. Even if they add 12 wins to their win total, he's not going to push him over the limit, and I don't see Kevin Love signing long term with Sacramento. Especially when LA is right down the road. I mean, if you're going to be in California,
you might
as well be
with the
Lakers, or, well, you wouldn't go with the Clippers because whatever, but the Lakers are right down the road.
The Houston Rockets, another team, they would be willing to give Chandler Parsons, Patrick Beverley, Omer Asik, Terrence Jones, and some draft picks. I think he would sign here long term, and I think it'd be a great fit for Houston for Kevin Love, to be honest. I mean, he would be with Dwight Howard and James Harden and Patrick Young.
Yeah, it would be, it would make their guard situation, their point guard situation with Jeremy Lin and Patrick Young, a lot more bearable, because I think both those guys are good guards, but they're backup guards in the NBA. But it certainly would be a nice fit, right? I mean, you would have Howard, the banger down low. You would think. I mean, this is a lot of Harden, Love, and Howard they all like to get their touches on the offensive end, so you'd have to get them to give a little bit. But you'd have Harden, the guard, who can break it down, score from the outside. Love, the big, who can score inside and out, can do a lot of different things with the basketball, as we talked about. And Howard, just think about the rebounding that those two would bring. I mean, wow. I mean, Howard's a guy who's led the league in rebounding. Love, we talked about, can pull in 20 rebounds on any given night. That team would be a rebounding machine down there. Wouldn't be many offensive rebounds for the opposing teams at all. I would like that spot for Kevin Love.
I would too. I would. That would be a very good fit, I believe, for Kevin Love. Last team, just kind of real quick, Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, there's been rumors saying he would go there with a trade. I mean, then my stance is, who would they give up? I mean, Nick Young. I mean, you don't have anything, and you can see the picture there of Chris Kaman just sleeping on the bench during that Cavs game, and it's comical to even suggest that the Lakers could trade for Kevin Love.
They don't have the pieces to trade. The only thing that they could hope is that they could put together a package of draft picks.
For this year,
their
like
first
3
round
years.
picks. Yeah, it would have to be a package of draft picks. But then there's the worry that, okay, they get Kevin Love. Los Angeles is a destination place for free agents. You got numerous stars coming up on free agency in the next couple of years. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, just to name a few. And there's a great chance that a big-time free agent could sign with Los Angeles. So those first-round draft picks that Minnesota could get from Los Angeles, this year, yeah, they're in the lottery. But 2, 3, 4 years down the road, whatever years they agree on those draft picks, they could be a 28th pick. That's not a draft pick that's going to – you could get a franchise-changing player
picks.
then. But if you're not expecting the guy in the 28th spot to be franchise-changing. You're expecting the guy in the top 10, a lottery pick, to be a franchise-changing type player.
Our last one, smart or not smart, for U.S. soccer coach Jurgen Klinsmann to leave the face of U.S. soccer star Landon Donovan off the World Cup roster.
I think it's smart. I think, obviously, Donovan is older now. He's 32, I believe. He's an older guy, and who knows better than Klinsmann of what Donovan is capable of? Nobody. If he doesn't think he should be on the roster, then I'm gonna go with his choice.
I think this is not smart. Donovan's a guy that, like I said, was the face of U.S. soccer for years. He has 57 international career goals, 58 international career assists. That's both U.S. records. And now the U.S. is up to 4 players that have World Cup experience. Only 4 guys.
Yeah, but you look at it, and it's a young man's game, soccer. He's looked a bit slow in the international games that he's played in. He was partially retired for a time, and going into what is his last chance to be on a World Cup team, you would think isn't necessarily the time to go into a partial retirement. He didn't play his cards right over the last few months, the last couple years, and I think Klinsmann is looking at the bigger picture and his dedication to the U.S. soccer team of late, and obviously he doesn't think he's the right guy. And at some point, Donovan was going to move on and not be the face of U.S. soccer anymore, and it looks like this is going to be the time. And hopefully, someone new can come to the forefront and lead this U.S. team into a tough group.
Very tough.
The
Very
group
tough.
of death, they're calling it. You still got a guy like Clint Dempsey, Josie Altidore. You still got
Tim Howard.
You still got names that people are going to recognize. And you know what? If the team wins, people are going to forget about Landon Donovan. Not forget about him, but let's just see how the team plays before we throw Klinsmann under the bus.
And last I'm going to say about this is, I just believe Donovan could be a key asset. If you don't want to start him, he could be off the bench. He's, a valuable
Coming
leader.
To be a goal scorer late if you need a goal late.
Algeria
in
4 years ago in that big goal to give the U.S. a huge win. I went nuts after that goal.
the game. I was sitting in the same spot I am right now.
I was sitting in the brown chair and I just went berserk.
I did a little jump.
and I hugged you.
Did we?
I hugged you.
I didn't hug you.
No. Okay.
We did hug when Shabazz Napier hit that shot
Against
though,
Villanova.
That was
A few
mutual.
years ago, yeah. Not in the tournament. It was at Villanova. Onions. Great call.
Bill Raftery, our guy.
Okay, so now we're going to talk some golf very quickly. It's been a kind of a long show. Rory McIlroy was 9 under yesterday, taking 3-stroke lead after the first round at Memorial at Muirfield Village in Dublin, Ohio, and he leads Paul Casey by 3 strokes. And Sam, Rory, he's just been playing some fantastic golf ever since the breakup.
Yeah, he won last week at the BMW PGA Championship, the flagship event on the European Tour, and yesterday keeps it going. He was flexing his knee during yesterday's round, but obviously not too much to worry about. It would appear as he went out there, shot the 9 under. A bit of a head scratcher yesterday watching the early rounds of that TV coverage. Phil Mickelson at 4 under through 10 or 11 holes, got to 5 under, was playing some really good golf through 15, and then ended bogey, double bogey, double bogey. Not something you want to see out of Phil Mickelson. So his frustrating year continues. We'll see what he can do in round number 2 today. He should be, if he hasn't teed off yet, he certainly will be teeing off in a short while, as he'll go off with the morning wave today along with Rory.
Okay, so now an MLB update. New Britain owns and former UConn Husky George Springer has been on a tear of late for the Houston Astros. He has 7 home runs in his last 7 games. In his last 7 days, he is hitting .450 and 20 at-bats with 10 runs, 9 hits, 5 home runs, and 12 RBIs. And Sam, this is just great to see a Connecticut guy, and we had the privilege to see him at Ratcat Stadium when he was with UConn, and he had a home run, and just CT pride.
Yeah, CT pride, baby. We had Matt Harvey last year. Hopefully he comes back and is healthy next year. And Springer, he was a highly touted prospect. Followed his career a little bit through. It wasn't too long of a career in the minor leagues.
No.
And he got off to a slow start once he got up to the big club. But, boy, has he turned it on of late. It's been a lot of fun to follow him. A.J. Pollock doing pretty well. Played his college ball for Notre Dame, but he comes from Hebron. Played for Ram High School out there. Was the Gatorade State Player of the Year his senior year. Plainville beat him his senior year. Yeah. I wasn't on the team, but hey, we did beat Matt Harvey too.
That's true. That's
so.
very true.
Yeah, it's good to see some Connecticut kids making some noise in the majors. Pollock with a walk-off hit a couple days ago.
And this past Monday in Kansas City against the Royals was Springer's best game of his career thus far in a 9-2 win over the Royals. He went 4 for 4 with 5 runs, 2 doubles, and 3 RBIs. And that's one heck of a game. He is currently on a 7-game hitting streak. The Astros, they're on a 6-game winning streak themselves. And Springer, he didn't play the first 14 games. He was in the minors. The Astros went 5-9, but since he's been called up, they're 18-21. And I mentioned the 6-game winning streak, and the 6-game winning streak is really in due large part because Springer is finding the stroke.
Well, yeah, it's you always need a bat. You got a guy who can be a big-time bat in the middle of your lineup, and it makes an amazing difference. And now the Astros, they have a guy who can provide that punch in the middle, and all of a sudden they're in a team. They probably won't make the playoffs this year, but they certainly can play spoiler against some teams down the stretch this season. Maybe not in the Central because it certainly looks like Detroit's going to run away with that division, but they're going to play teams outside of the Central, and I'm sure they'll play some teams in September who need to win games to get into the playoffs.
And last night, again, as we mentioned, with the 7 home runs in 7 games, he hit one last night, a 3-1 victory over the Orioles. And here's what Springer told the baseball last night.
I was screaming at it. I was just saying, go, 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 and it went. So, thank you, baseball.
And there's Springer telling the baseball to get out in left field, because there was actually a young fan before the game that came up to him and said, "George, hit a home run in left field," and that's what he did.
And I just want to make a quick correction. I said Houston was in the Central. I was thinking, for some reason I got it confused. They were in the NL Central, but after they moved to the AL, they're now in the AL West.
I'm still not used to the whole them being in the American League. It's
American League, and then they changed divisions. It'll take a little while.
Yeah.
So maybe that division won't be wrapped up.
Could
The
be.
Angels playing good baseball. Looks like it could be a 2-horse race with Oakland and Los Angeles. So they could certainly play spoiler down the stretch.
And last but not least, let's keep tabs on Edwin Encarnacion and his home run barrage. He hit 2 home runs last night in an 8-6 loss to the Royals. He now has 16 May home runs, which ties for second for most home runs during the month of May. And that ties Mark McGwire, Mickey Mantle. It was Barry Bonds that has the most home runs in the month of May with 17. And I got that question.
Yeah, you did.
Similar
All right.
question.
We got it. We know.
Okay,
we know. All right.
you got some sour grapes there. I'm
Yeah,
feeling pretty good about it.
We're going to come back, and we're going to come with a
Okay.
good one on Monday.
Okay, all right. Well, looking forward to it. And those 16 home runs have traveled a total of 6,639 feet. That's 1.26 miles. So if you can, people brag they can run that, but, try hitting 16 home runs that far. Okay, that's it for the Sports Brothers podcast today. Thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed our first 4 shows now. Once you listen to this, we want to hear your feedback. How are we doing? We want some criticism. We want some advice on how we can get this thing better. We just added a couple new segments. I like the Stump the Bro a lot.
You won't like it as much on Monday.
So it's good competition there. So please let us know if you have any.
Wait till I come with
questions.
the golf questions.
Oh, okay, then I'll go bobsled question on you.
No, it's
Olympic
got to be a
bobsled,
major
yeah.
sport.
Okay, so with that, have a wonderful day, everyone.